Stop controlling life, let the universe handle it. Alan Watts, have you ever noticed how desperately we try to control life, as if it was some wild animal that needs to be tamed? We plan, we predict, we calculate, and we stress, thinking that if we just try hard enough, we can force the universe into alignment with our desires. But what if I told you that this very effort to control is what causes the chaos in the first place? That the more you grip the steering wheel of life, the more it veers off the road. The philosopher Alan Watts once said, "The more a thing tends to be permanent, the more it tends to be lifeless." And yet, most of us are obsessed with permanence, stability, certainty. We think that if we can just control every variable, we'll be safe. But here's the paradox. Life only flows when you stop trying to control it. And this isn't just some abstract spiritual idea, it's a deeply logical truth. Think about it. When you're anxious or fearful about the future, what are you doing? You're mentally projecting yourself into a situation that doesn't exist yet. You're imagining possible outcomes and then reacting emotionally as if they're already real. You're simulating reality instead of living it. And that mental simulation becomes your prison. You become trapped in a world that only exists in your head. Have you ever caught yourself trying to plan out an entire conversation before it happens? Or rehearsing a future failure, as if worrying about it now will prevent it from occurring? That's control in disguise. And it's exhausting. We try to control because we're afraid. We're afraid that if we don't, something bad will happen. But here's the twist. That very fear becomes the source of our suffering. We're not protecting ourselves, we're cutting ourselves off from the richness of the present moment. Alan Watts often spoke about the illusion of the separate self. We think of ourselves as little egos, encapsulated in skin, moving through a world of other objects and events. But what if that's just a story we've been told? What if you're not a separate self controlling a universe, but the universe itself, experiencing itself through your eyes? Suddenly, the idea of control becomes absurd. Like a wave trying to control the ocean. You are the ocean. You are the process, not the product. And when you realize this, something incredible happens. You let go.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
Letting go isn't the same as giving up. It's not apathy. It's not laziness. It's trust. It's the recognition that you don't need to micromanage existence to live fully. In fact, the most beautiful things in life, love, creativity, laughter, insight, happen when we're not trying to force them. Have you ever fallen in love by making a spreadsheet? Have you ever laughed uncontrollably because you scheduled it in your calendar? No, those moments arise spontaneously. They emerge when we're present, open, and receptive. So why do we resist this truth so fiercely? Because surrender feels like death to the ego. The part of you that wants control, the planner, the worrier, the perfectionist, believes that if it lets go, everything will fall apart. But what if everything is already falling into place, and your resistance is the only thing holding it back? What if, in trying to control life, you're actually blocking it from unfolding the way it's meant to? Here's a deep question to consider. What would your life look like if you stopped trying to control it? Not in some reckless, chaotic way, but in a deeply aware, trusting way. What if you lived each moment as if it were exactly what was meant to happen, not because it's easy or pleasant, but because it's part of the unfolding dance of the universe? Would you still be afraid? Or would you finally feel free? I know this might sound radical. We're conditioned to believe that control equals power. But real power doesn't come from control, it comes from alignment. Or alignment with the flow of life, with the underlying intelligence of the universe. And that intelligence is always speaking to us, if we're willing to listen. It speaks through synchronicity, through intuition, and through the quiet knowing that arises when we're not caught in the noise of thought. Let me ask you something strange, but stay with me. Have you ever watched a cat stare into the distance, as if it's sensing something invisible? It's not planning, it's not worrying, it's simply being, fully alive, fully present, and yet it's hyper-aware. That's not passivity, that's mastery, a kind of intuitive intelligence that doesn't need to control, because it's already attuned to what is. Could we live like that? Could we learn to trust the signals life is giving us, instead of constantly second-guessing them? Could we navigate life like a cat, calm, aware, ready, but not obsessed with control? The path to peace isn't paved with plans, it's revealed through presence. And so, the invitation is this: stop controlling life. Let the universe handle it, not because life is perfect, but because it's alive. And that aliveness is far wiser than we can ever be. You are not the driver, you are the road, becoming one with the flow of existence. If we truly grasp the idea that we are not separate from the universe, then the entire premise of control begins to collapse. The very notion that there is a you piloting the vehicle of life, making decisions from some command center in your head, starts to seem like a comforting illusion. But here's where it gets really interesting. What if the reason we suffer is because we bought into this illusion so completely that we've forgotten we are the road, not the driver? This idea might sound abstract, but it's deeply practical. Let's consider how we react when things don't go our way. We get angry, anxious, or disappointed. Why? Because we expected a certain result. We had a narrative in our minds about how life was supposed to unfold, and reality didn't match up. But that expectation is based on the false assumption that we're in charge of outcomes, that we're the authors of the script. But what if we're actually characters in the story, conscious characters, yes, but still part of something far larger? Alan Watts often used the analogy of music to explain this. Life is not a journey with a destination, it's a dance, a symphony. And the point of a dance is not to get to the end. The point is to dance. In a piece of music, we don't skip to the final note just to say we've finished. We savor each measure, each note, each pause. But in life we rush. We sprint towards some imagined goal, success, security, happiness, believing that when we arrive, we'll finally be fulfilled. But fulfillment isn't found at the end of the road. It is the road. So what does it mean to become the road? It means dissolving the boundary between yourself and what's happening. It means living from a place of deep participation rather than control. Imagine a surfer riding a wave. They aren't controlling the ocean, that would be absurd. They're attuned to it, aligned with it. They have technique, yes, but they also yield. They listen, they feel, they move with the water, not against it. That's what letting go looks like, not giving up, but giving in to the deeper rhythm of life. Now, you might be wondering, if I stop controlling, won't my life fall apart? Won't I lose my ambition, my discipline, my edge? But that's the old voice of fear speaking, the ego, terrified of its own irrelevance. In truth, When you stop forcing life, your actions become more intelligent, not less. You begin to operate from intuition, not anxiety. From clarity, not compulsion. You still take action, but it flows from a deeper place. It's like jazz improvisation, spontaneous, creative, in harmony with the moment. But here's a provocative question. What if every so-called mistake you made was exactly what needed to happen for your growth? What if nothing was out of place, even when it appeared to be? Could you begin to trust that life is not a random chaos, but a kind of unfolding intelligence that includes you, your thoughts, your emotions, your desires not as separate from it, but as integral parts of it? To become the road is to stop resisting the terrain. It's to roll with the curves, the hills, the unexpected detours, not because you're passive, but because you're aware that resistance is futile. The road is what it is. Your power lies not in changing it, but in being it. And once you internalize this, a radical shift happens. You begin to see that the universe isn't something happening to you, it's something happening through you. Take a moment and reflect. Where in your life are you gripping the wheel too tightly? Where are you insisting it must go this way? Could you loosen your grip just a little? Could you open to the possibility that life might know something you don't? And because maybe the ultimate freedom doesn't come from control, but from surrender. And maybe, just maybe, the life you're trying to force is far smaller than the one the universe is trying to give you. The illusion of security and the wisdom of uncertainty. We crave security like a drowning man craves air. But we build routines, earn degrees, buy insurance, plan our futures, all in the name of this elusive thing called security. But what we're really chasing is a sense of control over the unknown. We want to know what's coming next. We want a guarantee that things will work out, that we won't be hurt, that we won't lose what we love. But here's the brutal truth, and it's also the most liberating truth. Security is an illusion. It doesn't exist, and it never did. Think about it. Have you ever had a plan that went exactly the way you imagined it? Probably not. Life is constantly surprising us, sometimes in beautiful ways, sometimes in painful ones. But always, it defies our expectations. And yet, we keep acting as if we can pin it down, as if the future is a puzzle we can solve with enough effort. This is the root of our anxiety. We don't fear the unknown, we fear not being able to control it. Alan Watts once said, "Faith is a state of openness or trust." To have faith is like when you trust yourself to the water. You don't grab hold of the water, because if you do, you'll sink and drown. You have to relax, and the water will support you. That's the wisdom of uncertainty. It's not about knowing what's coming. It's about knowing that whatever comes, you can meet it with presence and grace. Let's be honest, we've all had moments where life pulled the rug out from under us. A job loss, a breakup, a diagnosis. And in that moment of collapse, the structure we thought was keeping us safe crumbled. But what happened next? We adapted. We grew. We found strength we didn't know we had. We discovered new parts of ourselves. In hindsight, those moments weren't the end, they were the beginning of something deeper, something real. So why do we resist uncertainty so much when it's the very soil where growth happens? Because we're taught to label it as dangerous. But uncertainty is not the enemy. It's the space where possibility lives. When you let go of needing to know, you open yourself to what could be, but you become available to the mystery. And the mystery is where life truly begins. Ask yourself this: when was the last time you were truly alive? Was it during a predictable routine? Or was it in a moment of spontaneity, of surprise, of raw emotion? Aliveness is born in the unknown. That's why we climb mountains, fall in love, take risks. Not because it's safe, but because it's real. So how do we live wisely in a world without guarantees? We stop anchoring our peace in outcomes. We stop tying our happiness to when this happens or if that works out. Instead, we root ourselves in awareness, in presence, in the ability to respond rather than the illusion of predicting. But this is the path of the awakened life, not certainty, but clarity. And clarity doesn't come from controlling the future. It comes from seeing the present clearly. It comes from being so rooted in this moment that you no longer need to escape into imagined futures or past regrets. You begin to realize that peace isn't found in circumstances, it's found in your relationship to them. Here's something to ponder. What if uncertainty isn't something to eliminate, but something to embrace? What if the unknown isn't a threat, but an invitation? Would you still try so hard to control everything? Or would you start dancing with life instead of fighting it? Because once you make peace with uncertainty, you discover a secret. You don't need to know what's coming to be okay. You don't need to predict the future to live fully now. The unknown stops being a void and starts becoming a canvas. And your life becomes a work of art, not because you planned every brushstroke, but because you allowed the painting to emerge. Why letting go is the most powerful thing you'll ever do. Letting go. It sounds soft, passive, even weak. But in truth, letting go is one of the most courageous, powerful acts a human being can commit. It defies our conditioning, challenges our ego, and asks us to live without a net. We've been taught that strength means holding on, pushing through, gripping tighter. But sometimes the bravest thing you can do is release the grip entirely and allow life to unfold on its own terms. Why is letting go so powerful? Because it's the moment when you stop resisting reality and start flowing with it. Resistance creates tension, mental, emotional, even physical. It's that tightness in your chest, the clenching of your jaw, the looping thoughts that never give you peace. But letting go dissolves that tension. It returns you to your natural state of openness, where clarity and creativity can arise. It's not that you stop caring, it's that you stop controlling. You shift from force to flow. Alan Watts often said, "Muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone." That's letting go. It's trusting that clarity comes not from agitation, but from stillness. It's realizing that you don't have to fix or figure everything out. Some things resolve themselves when you stop interfering. Some answers appear when you stop demanding them. And some doors open only when you stop trying to break them down. Think of a time when something beautiful happened in your life, something you didn't plan. A moment of connection, a sudden opportunity, a surprising insight. Chances are, it came when you were relaxed, open, not trying to force an outcome. That's the magic of letting go. It creates space for life to breathe, for intuition to speak, for new paths to emerge. So how do we actually let go? We begin by noticing where we're holding on. Where are we trying to control people, outcomes, narratives? Where are we resisting what is? Then we ask, what am I afraid will happen if I stop trying to control this? Often we find that the fear isn't grounded in reality, it's a protective story we've been telling ourselves. And once we see that, we can begin to loosen the grip. Letting go doesn't mean you stop acting. It means your actions come from a place of alignment, not desperation. You still show up, still love, still create, but without the need to manipulate reality. You become a partner with life, not its master. And in that partnership, you find a different kind of power, a quiet power, a trusting power, the power of presence. So here's the final question. What are you still trying to control that you could let go of today? Not tomorrow, not when it's convenient, but now. What would happen if you stopped fighting life and started listening to it? Because maybe, just maybe, the universe has been trying to lead you all along. But it can't guide a clenched fist. It needs an open hand. Let go, and let life show you how powerful you really are.